Let's look back now at the week, and it certainly has not been a dull week for news in South Africa. From the alleged plot to oust President Cyril Ramaphosa, former President Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane Zuma, to appear before the State Capture Commission, the inquiry itself dismissing the Guptas' request to appear before the Commission via video link, and also former President Jacob Zuma coming out to say that there is no such thing as state capture. Let's now get some analysis, and we've got our political analyst, Xolani Dube from Xubera Institute, and he is in our Durban studios. Good to have you, Xolani. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Morning, Leanne, as well as the viewers at home.
Right, we got so much to get through, and I could start off with what I think was the highlight, but I'm going to start asking that to you. What for you jumps out as the biggest story of the week? What was the one that sort of consumed your attention most?
I think it's what happened yesterday when the Treasurer informed us that the pension fund of the South Africans are going to be invested offshore. Yeah. I think that is the most important story for this week.
You're actually right, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I almost didn't mention that, and that got my attention as well, which basically is giving the South African market a thumbs down, saying, listen, we're not investing the money here, let's take it offshore because our markets are looking too volatile. What can we read into that?
Look, it's such a contradiction that our president is on the crusade seeking foreign direct investment and to portray our country as a safe place to invest. But at the same time, we are taking the livelihood of the South Africans to be invested outside the country. It shows to the international market that South African government is not trusting at all its own country when it comes to investment. And it surprises me because you remember that the Old Mutual, through the demutualization, they did the same thing, but now they are back again into South Africa. And so it's such a sad reality that our own government can say thumbs down to South Africa, but at the same time they can go out and look for foreign investment. I really don't understand how come Mr. Stolle, under the guideship of Minister Ntantanene, can do such a thing. I think it is an ill-advised kind of a move from the Treasurer, and I wonder what the President would say.
Yeah, indeed. Glad you mentioned that one, and that should be on the top of our radar, and we should be looking at that very, very closely. But let's now start off with what kicked the week off for us. And of course, kicking the week off was alleged plots to unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa from power. This after front page pictures of our former president meeting with ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. There was denies this ever happened, and pictures of guns being sent, and people that were part of this meeting were all sort of saying yes, no, no, yes. And then, of course, we got that interview with the SG of the ANC saying this is just routine meetings and they happen all the time. But talk to me about this, a plot to oust and unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa. What do you read into that?
Look, I think we as South Africans have to understand that this is how ANC has been surviving for years. They always search for a scapegoat, something that can bring unity amongst them, especially towards elections. And so I think currently they're in search of a scapegoat that will unite them, because currently there's nothing that unites the ANC. And so I think the meetings of 2 or 3 people who were in the same alliance or affection towards Nasrec will be viewed as kind of conspiring against the president. I think really they are punching above their weight when it comes to coup d'etat and so forth. And two, I think also what we can deduct or extrapolate from the narrative that has been happening during the week in relation to the meeting is the division that is is so clear in the ANC. Look, we have noticed how Pulemabe came out denying the existence of the meeting,
yes,
and also Zizi Godwa as a spokesperson in the presidency or as the spokesperson of the ANC, we don't know now who's the spokesperson of the organization, coming out and saying, look, we wash our hands, we are like, we are not involved in any of the meetings that happened. Those who were in the meetings, they must go out and explain themselves. And then we saw the secretary of the ANC going out and trying to explain, speaking in tongues, to be quite honest, because in that interview that he conducted, no one can say really what happened in that meeting. And so I think it's just the confusion that is happening in the ANC, as well as a kind of weakness or less confidence of our president, who think that people, when they meet to conspire against him. I think the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, must understand that, or the ANC must understand that the people will always meet and they will always try to lobby for the next conference, because ANC is always in an election mode.
Indeed.
Or in an election mode, one can put it in that way.
Absolutely. Let's try and move quickly onto another story, and you talk about perhaps not showing enough confidence, our president, Cyril Ramaphosa. However, our former president, Jacob Zuma, showing lots of confidence this week, coming out and saying, state capture? What state capture? There's absolutely no captured state talking here, giving us his definition of what a state is and what capture means, where you talk about the three levels and arms of government, the executive, judiciary, the legislative, can't be captured, and also still saying that he has not ruled out appearing before the State Commission, State Capture Commission, and that he's applying his mind to it. So talk to me about some of these developments this week.
Look, I think in that context where he uttered such kind of philosophical utterances, he missed the point. The point about the state capture is about the corruption. Forget about the semantics. It can be state capture or state of capture or whatever, but the bottom point or the bottom line is, it was there corruption relationship between certain government representative and the business people. And so that is the crux of this gathering that is happening under the wardship of Babu Zondo. It has nothing to do with the philosophical thing, because at the end of the day, as I'm saying, is about the corruption, existence, or was no corruption. And so this philosophical academic interpretation of state capture or no state capture is something that, yes, is for universities, but for the people on the ground, what they want to know is the departments, the government representative, can we trust them? But through the Zondo Commission, what we can really witness, or what we can really understand now, is the weakness, is this disempowered government representative when the president invites them. Because look, how can a president invite in a private house of another so-called inverted commas South African citizen to discuss such kind of a thing? And you, as a government representative, willingly you go to that particular compound and to discuss such kind of things. Do you have a right to say no or yes to the president? And so those are the things that this state capture is informing us as South Africans to say, it seems our president, to a certain extent, he got so much power to the people that he appointed to this position. And so I think that's what we are learning, the disempowered and also the power of the president. And also we are starting to understand how the so-called oligarchy or the powerful families in our communities or in our countries are being made. They are made through being associated with the head of the state.
Yeah. I mean, we even, look, one of the good things yesterday, and maybe I'm saying it because I thought it was quite a good judgment by Zondo, saying that the Gupta brothers are not going to get special treatment, and there is no reason why they shouldn't come back to South Africa. And if they don't ever get their side of the story across, it's not due to the Commission, but to their own detriment. So saying that they are not going to be able to testify via video link or in another country or whatever it is, and they can't cross-examine those witnesses that they wanted to. So I thought that was a good ruling and a vote of confidence towards the Commission.
I think that's an excellent one, because you remember that in the parliament there is also an inquiry on the Guptas citizenship, and in one of their application, it's so funny. They said that they provide KFC to the South African young people, and these are the people who've got South African citizenship through questionable means. But at the same time now, they are scared to come back to the country that they value so much, to a country that gave them so many billions, to come and answer their ethical party on acquiring such kind of money. And so I think it is very unfair of them to say they want to be interviewed outside the South African borders. And so it shows to a certain extent as well that this is a family that is not having confidence to the South African law, but they have confidence to the president family, because they are in relation to the president. The son of the president, as we speak, is in Dubai. And at the same time, the South African law gave them back their assets. And so it bothers one's mind why these people, when it comes to the issues of honesty on their side, to come and testify, they start to doubt the South African law. But when the South African law ruled saying they can have their assets, they never said, no, we don't want our assets because this party, the South African judiciary or the South African law can't be trusted. But now, when they're supposed to come and testify, they want to do it abroad. I think it is a very condescending manner to the South African government, as well to the South Africans.
I have to wrap you there, but in literally a one-word answer, Duduzane Zuma's about turn, saying he's going to appear before the Commission. That also came out this week. Is he going to spill the beans, or is he going to protect the Guptas as much as he can, as well as himself?
Look, when you listen quite carefully to the former minister, deputy minister, Jonas, you will see that they had a relationship. What kind of a relationship? I think that all of us who are going to hear from Duduzane. And look, another thing, what Duduzane is trying to do here is going there to say, Sipho Jonas, your sequence of events is flawed here and there. And so I think it's going to be word of Jonase, Mcebisi Jonase versus of Duduzane Zuma. And so we as South Africans, we need to to come with a deductive analysis on what really is the truth between the two. But we hope that this state capture is going to unravel lots of things, because it seems as if it keeps on attracting all these characters. Indeed. All these characters who have been doing back deals at our expense.
Xolani, we have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much. Xolani Dube, Xubera Institute, talking to us from our Durban studios. And I have to use that line, if only the walls could talk, because then we would know the truth.